Hi everyone, it's Mariel here, and today's video is going to be a little different than a majority of the other videos I've been pumping out as of late. It's also a lot more serious. I mean, I know I put a lot of serious stuff on my channel in the past, but this is a video that, like, I scripted in advance, so if I'm not making eye contact with the camera, that is why. I'm going to just be reading a script off my computer here. And I feel like this is a video I've been wanting to make for quite some time because I've left a lot of my fans in the dark about one of my projects, and after some time to, reflect and heal and recover, all that stuff, I feel like it's time to finally, properly address it. So let's get into the real, like, meat and potatoes of this thing. Yeah. Oh shit, I already had an intro planned for this, so we'll just cut to that now. Hello everyone, and to some extent the home movies fandom. This is a video I've been sitting on for a long time, and after some time away from the fandom and several long talks with my team, I felt that the time was right to address some things that I've been quiet on for months. Those being my original decision to end Home Movies Revamped, what brought me to that decision, and the future of HMR itself. If there are new members who have just joined the fandom recently and just so happen to find me out of sheer luck, allow me to start from the beginning. In March of 2020, I discovered Home Movies through a fan account that has since been rebranded. I thought nothing of it and decided to watch a few clips. I liked what I saw and decided to give the show a chance with the episode Bye Bye Greasy, which is arguably the best episode of the entire show. I didn't know this at the time, but Home Movies would soon leave a lasting impact on both my life and this channel. A few months later, in May of the same year, I began to brainstorm the idea of a fan continuation project where Brendan and his friends would get to experience modern-day technology such as smartphones, digital cameras, and things that most of us would use in our everyday lives. I wrote the first few episodes with my dad, except for the third episode, because that was something I wrote with my new best friend Mel at the time. At the time, he was my new best friend. I don't know why I worded that so poorly. And I later began animating everything by myself. Except I personally preferred, and still to this day prefer, to do animatic style videos since it takes less time to put out than fully animated videos. This series would be named Home Movies Revamped, and it would unintentionally give me a small bit of a cult following for my dedication to home movies and the project itself. HMR lasted 8 episodes with the initial promise to make more, but real-life priorities as well as other projects of mine took up my time, which brings me to the main topic of this video, which is the show's downfall. Before I begin, I would like to start with the following. I will be keeping the 2 main culprits involving the show's downfall anonymous. This is for various factors, but primarily to keep their identities safe, because at the end of the day, these people are human beings that deserve to be treated with respect and basic human decency. I also ask that you not snoop out and harass these individuals because, like I just said, they're human beings too with feelings and, they're humans. So, yeah. I do not wish any ill fate against these people. That I should make perfectly clear. So, without further ado, it's time for me to address the big elephant in the room that I've been leaving unattended for, like, 4 years? Yeah, 4 years sounds appropriate. HMR's downfall technically began in late 2022, but it wasn't as severe as it was in the last 2 years. In August of 2022, a user who I will refer to as Stick joined my Discord server. They offered to help with animation and production for the show, and even drew a few concept pieces that I won't show here on screen because these were promoted in my Discord server, and would also kind of reveal their identity, and, like I said, I don't want to do that. I welcomed them aboard, and my team also welcomed them with open arms. At first, things were great. Stick was a great writer, and helped out with a few scripts that we just started on, as well as helping with some already established ones that we had almost finished at that point. However, Stick wanted to derail a lot of already established continuity that, even if I wanted to at the time, I didn't want to go through the process of remaking 7 other episodes when I already had an 8th in production. I didn't want to say anything at the time because I lacked any sense of a proper backbone and wanted to come off as, the cool boss back then. It wasn't until Mel messaged me privately with his own concerns that made me realize I couldn't keep Stick on the team forever. It wasn't until episode 8 premiered that they turned in their criticisms. First off, I don't hold any grudges or ill feelings towards Stick because I recognize now, like, given recent circumstances that I will get into shortly, that unlike the second person I'm going to talk about, Stick was just a child. They had freshly turned 13 that year and still kind of had that mindset that a lot of teens go through where, well, I'm older, so therefore I know better than everyone around me. So, yeah. Their criticisms were pretty valid for the most part, but some of the more harsher ones were that some of our voice actors needed to have better voice equipment because their voices sounded too quiet. Most of us were either minors, unemployed, or both at that time, and even if we wanted to, we couldn't afford high-tech, high-end, like, microphones and stuff. And I think I'm, like, the only one in my studio at the time who had, like, a proper microphone, if you can see it on camera here. I only got this one for, like, $22 at my local Walmart or something like that. But basically, a lot of us didn't really have a stable income to the point where we could afford a lot of, high-end or most of us even decent voice technology, so we often just had to, like, record using our cell phones or, like, even video messages, but, you know, sometimes you just need to work with what you have. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to casting people. Another criticism they had was that they thought that some of our voices sounded, in their exact words, lifeless and dead. During episode 8's production, a lot of the voice lines were sent to me months in advance, and our voices sounded way different back then. And by that point, our voices had changed, and they sounded a lot different, and dare I say better than the original takes that I received. But again, I didn't really want to go back and just retake a bunch of lines because I thought they were, like, passable to decent at best. So I didn't really hear any complaints from people about the lines either, aside from this one person, so yeah. I believe around that same afternoon, Stick also left the project because they wanted to prioritize their mental health, which we were all very understanding of, which, you know, and we were all very understanding of that because, you know, mental health is important. You think that'd be the end of it, though, right? Absolutely not. The next incident I'm going to address was initially going to be a lot longer because, well, there was a lot that happened with this second incident. But I trimmed it down because it would make this video a lot longer than I need it to be. Although I'm not happy with what happened, I'm not going to address the entirety of the situation here. I'm also unsure if I'll address it in a future video, but for now this is as good as it's going to get. A year after Stick's departure, HMR did technically go on a bit of a hiatus, I just didn't make it official at that point. And around this time I was going through a pretty nasty breakup that did hurt for the first, like, 24 hours. But then I realized that the person who broke things off was an all-around horrible person and absolutely deserves the worst. Anyways, during the summer of 2023, a new person joined my server. I will be referring to this person as David in order to keep his real-life identity hidden due to safety concerns. David expressed extreme enthusiasm for wanting to work on HMR with me to the point where he would ping me excessively. I was very hesitant to bring him on the project at first after the whole situation with Stick, but I decided to give David the benefit of the doubt and bring him on board. I introduced him to my team, and we were all very excited to have him working for us. We were all just excited for him, as well as, you know, he was very excited, and so were we. Things seemed fine on the surface, but as time went on, David would constantly overstep the boundaries of other coworkers and developed a sense of entitlement. I'd list every single thing that he's done, but this video is not the place to do it, and the only way I would deem it acceptable to do an in-depth video would be that if David had committed a truly heinous crime on the internet or in real life, or this would be a repeated pattern of behavior that has been seen in other friend groups or projects, which, after knowing him personally for 3 years, he has not done such things. Some of the things that I will mention that he did do are the following, but certainly not limited to: policing other cast members for not doing things a certain way that would satisfy him, even to the point where he was criticizing one of his even to the point where he was being blatantly rude to one of our voice actors to the point where she had to leave the call in tears, going behind my back twice after I set clear, firm boundaries with him, taking voice roles from other cast members to either keep to himself or give to me and his brother, who I will refer to as Kevin. As mentioned previously, he overstepped a lot of boundaries and tried to undermine my authority, which got to a point where I had to give a longtime member a promotion to co-owner because it was becoming a battle that I couldn't fight by myself anymore, and giving himself promotions that he was not entitled to. And trust me, this is just scratching the surface. David was officially fired in early February of 2025 following an event that escalated to the point where it required serious medical intervention. Do I feel bad that it ended the way that it did? Yes, I do. Now, do I feel bad that I fired him regardless? No. At the end of the day, this was something that was bound to happen eventually. The safety of not just me, but the entirety of everyone who is in my studio matters the most. And I just had to do what was best by not just me, but them, and even David and his brother to an extent. Even if it meant hurting someone's feelings in the process. As of this year, David and I are still in contact, but I no longer consider him a friend. I do not think that he is a bad person by any means. Overzealous, sure, but from what I've seen looking back on everything, David was just someone who was eager to work for me, and his excitement undoubtedly got to his head. At the end of the day, it just ended because of the following reasons mentioned, and we also just had creative differences in general. At the end of the day, I wish him the best on his future endeavors and hope that his firing from my studio inspires him to grow and better himself. Now let's move on to the biggest question that you guys probably clicked on this video for. What does this mean for Home Movies Revamped? Well, after taking the year off, several mental breakdowns, fighting with David some more, and having a lot of thoughts that I can't share on here because, YouTube's community guidelines are, pretty wishy-washy, I realized that I shouldn't let one bad apple ruin something that brought me so much joy in the past. So to put it short, Revamped is coming back. But not in the way you'd think. Yes, the show is returning, but I will not be picking up where I left off. The reason for this is that I consulted my production team about it, and we came to the conclusion that while it would be great to continue the original series, we're all equally too hung up on David's tirade when it came to the project. And trust me, this is a decision that I never wanted to make with this project. Especially... And even David knew this. He knew that I never wanted to remake the original 8 or just start from scratch. Because, well, Home Movies Revamped got me through some truly dark times that, I feel like if I hadn't created Revamped, I wouldn't be alive right now. I would not be sitting here in this chair, filming a video explaining the future of this project. But after some reflection and consulting my team about it, I feel that starting from scratch is ultimately for the greater good. The major changes this first season is that Shannon's storyline was scrapped because I had to phase out Nova. This was yet another decision that really left me heartbroken, but it was one of the many things with the original storyline that got tainted, so, well, my hands are tied. Nova isn't going to be completely, scrapped out of the show. I am giving her a one-time appearance in a much later episode, so you'll get to see her again, just not in the way you'd think. The new Season 1 has a new story arc for Brendan that, in a way, mirrors my own experience in recent years, where, rather than blindly accepting what's given to him, Brendan is now struggling to navigate an ever-changing modern era that we live in. I'm really excited to write this new story, and I'm even more excited for the people to see it. As of now, the script for the new pilot is almost finished, and I'm aiming for an August 2026 release as part of my 10th anniversary event. A majority of the original cast will be reprising their roles, as well as some new additions to the Squiggle Flash team. And, that's about it. That wraps it up for this video. I'm sorry if this was just me rambling a lot, but, I have left a lot of Home Movies fans in the dark for so long because, well, I didn't really know how to make this video professionally without having it just devolving into just a big deep dive of some of my biggest traumas that I've had in the last few years. So, yeah. be sure to stay tuned for some more updates regarding the revamped version, pun somewhat intended, of this otherwise, like, important project of mine that, again, holds a very deep meaning to me. Like I said before, I'm really excited to get the show up and running again, and my team are just as excited to be a part of it. I think I'm dragging this video on too long, so like I said, be sure to stay subscribed so you can see further updates on not just Revamped, but other projects that I have going on throughout the year. Anyway, that's about it. I think I've ran out of things to say now, so without any further ado, I'll see you guys next time.